Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bouncyrock's bi-monthly banter, our April 19th session. We had to unfortunately make it a little later than usual, but we're still going to aim for the future to be the second Friday of every other month. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, where our lovely team here will go ahead and give you guys some updates, and then we'll get into some Q&A sessions. Remember, you can go ahead and preface any question with exclamation point Q, and our question bot will grab it and let you know that it grabbed it, and then we'll go through it later. But until then, I'll hand it over to the rest of the team here, Jason and Chris.
Yeah, I better start yapping, haven't I? Yeah, cheers, folks. Yeah, week later. That was really handy, actually. I had to pop over to the UK and for my sister's wedding, which was lovely, but has pushed this back a little. It's I will kick off, I suppose, with just kind of recap of where we are. It's a weird one to be doing because we're on some tasks that are just taking longer than we'd hoped. Of course, we wanted to have seats out by now. Seats is going along just fine, but there are edge cases, and we're like building something and then we put it in someone's hands who hasn't used it before, and then they're like getting confused with certain things and handing it back to us. So we've just done that, I think yesterday, day before, whatever time is. And so yeah, we're on our kind of hopefully last iteration on the UI. So while I will be showing, I can show seats right now, it'll be on UI from days ago. So it's all churning and chugging through. And then, so yeah, that's seats chewing away. Chair has been working on all kinds of tagging things for tiles and prop mods that will be coming down the line. And Pavel's been working on all the back-end stuff. The back-end stuff for seats has been interesting, in a good way. But like the seats portion of it is one set of problems. But there's some kind of architectural changes that are kind of major that have been going in there as well. So it's been making sure those are stable enough, hitting those edge cases, especially because we have some slightly different things. Normally you only run like one copy of the game at the same time, but we've got plenty of you folks out there who are running multiple copies on the same machines with the same user. So it's just slightly different from some other apps, a bit more Discordy than your kind of standard game. But yeah, it is going okay. And then, yeah, of course, Jason and taking care of things on the art side with the big old Cyberpunk pack that is coming on the way. And yeah, that's going grand. And then we're just in some long big things to chew on, and that's fine. But it makes coming on here a little nerve-wracking because we're like, hey, not a whole lot's changed since the last time we spoke in terms of answers to questions, but I'm looking forward to going through them. And yeah. Do we want to? I suppose we could actually try doing Should we try do a quick seats demo? We'll see what the demo gods have to say about that. But yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Bring it. Okay, so I will start up. Let me get the guest edition running on my Mac, and then I'll get stream up on there, and we'll let's see, share screen, window. By the way, how you doing, chat? It has been some time. So let me just scroll through here while that's loading.
Chat is very, very active today. We got a good number of questions coming into the question bot. So it's good to see. We'll definitely have a lot of things to answer.
Hey, peeps. Grand. Let's do this. Okay, cool. So what does video think about that? Okay, cool. So I think Banter is, so I'm on a slightly different view from you guys. But we have over here, we're running a full copy of the game. And over here, we're running the guest edition of the game. Is that showing up fine for you, Panda?
That is.
Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to go into here, and actually I'm going to start by inviting the other player, and we will actually test some, of course, we'll be testing some UI I actually haven't tested yet, so we'll see how that goes. Let's generate an invite code and get that into... Oh, I've got to remember where my cursor is. That is not that. Oh, you're not going to... Are you going to be problematic? You are. Fantastic. Okay. It's all right. I'm using some software called Synergy to control my mouse across two machines, and it obviously isn't handling the clipboard right now. Come on, give me some love. Yeah, there we go. Join. So I'm trying to join right now, and it's coming up saying there are no seats found. In future, there'll be some notification that pops up here and says that seat is not available. That someone is requesting a seat, but because this is an older build, I haven't got that yet. But over here in bi-monthly, I can see that there's a little pip here that is also changing that's saying that Jay needs a seat. I can come in here and I can grab one of those. And then if Steam is going to play nice, then I'm able to accept the seat. It'll chew for a bit longer. And then, the gods willing, that succeeds. And we head in, and once I land back in, the seat will be added to the campaign, and thus this person is able to come in as well and play. So you give someone an invite, and then when the session is happening, they can grab a seat, and things just continue as per usual. So then they're able to do everything that normal folks can do. If I want to make them a GM, I can make them a GM. When I come out, of course, the seat isn't just removed. So these people aren't going to get kicked. And they can't play at the moment because they're just regular players, but they do still have their seat, and they will do until I head into another campaign. So you can see here that there is, even though the hover text is saying there are no seats attached to this campaign, that has already been fixed in the latest build. But this little one here is saying there is one seat on this campaign. So I'm hoping that's not too confusing. It's rough showing work in progress UI. But yes, you're able to grab a seat, and then people who haven't paid for the game are able to get in and play with you. And that's a very, very, very quick demo. So I hope we can kick over to questions, to be honest, because I don't have more words to say about that.
Jason, do you have any updates
awesome.
you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah, I mean, so working on the mega sector right now, and that is the kind of the mega dungeon futuristic equivalent. I think you guys already know this stuff, but that has been taking a long time, and so there are some miscellaneous props that we have also been working on in the background that we're probably going to release as their own pack. So before the mega sector comes out, just keep an eye out for an upcoming prop pack. Just a small one, but it's got some goodies in it, that I think you guys will appreciate. So that's what we've been working on right now. And yeah, that's about it from me.
Okay. Then
Awesome.
if you guys don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and switch to the Q&A portion.
Yeah, let's just do questions. The community is more interesting than we are anyway. So
Yes, 100%.
So our first question we have up today is from Fox Monkey D. Will you revisit the Fog of War? Will there be a way to save my own pre-built slabs in the tray so I don't have to load an asset campaign?
Absolutely. The last bit we'll get to. So Fog of War. Yes, I can't wait. I am so eager to be done with seats. It's like so technically uninteresting and just drags on the mind. So like as soon as we can get that out to you, nice and robust, and then I can start switching to interesting things. We got like a month of bug fixes. I want to do a bunch of performance work, but yeah, Fog of War. Really want to do some stuff there. There's a couple of parts of that. I'm very interested in doing a much simpler vision system if it's possible. We will be doing a full 3D Fog of War thing. I know what I want to do with that now, as far as like how to represent that. But I also wanted you to be able to set just, hey, here's the range that like can be seen around the players in the party, and then only show those things. So like a hard fog kind of cut off from that point. So it's not like normally if you've got like a person, you've got a wall here and a person there. You get those shadows that cast out either side. This is just going to be a circumference around you is visible. I really think we could do that, and that'd be a faster way to get something that you folks can use for like dungeon crawls and stuff like this. The nice thing about like a proper Fog of War system, especially, is that because it doesn't reveal things around corners, like based on a range, and it's actually like showing what your character would see. It doesn't accidentally reveal, or shouldn't accidentally reveal, hidden passages and stuff like this. Whereas just showing a range around you will, but it'll be like, yeah, a lot easier to make and in the short term, and also useful. I think for some people that's actually what they want as well, rather than this like weirdy shadow casty kind of thing. Yeah, we get a lot of opinions on that kind of stuff, which is great. Saving your own pre-built slabs in the tray. Oh, yes, absolutely. We want to be able to put like the tray thing is like this, something that was kind of put together so long ago and is super limited. And yeah, we really want to expand that into a full inventory system, both for yourself, but also on creatures on the board, and for kind of uniques. And in there, you should be able to put anything like dice rolls, objects, yeah, the whole shebang. And yeah, slabs, why not? Yeah, references to mods, all of it. I want to work on that. So I don't have to load an asset campaign. Oh, okay. So when you're talking about asset campaign, is that kind of like a one you have just for kind of pre-built stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming their meaning is, kind of a campaign.
Yeah, nice.
With all of their.
If we get that wrong, Voxmonk D, please, yeah, say in chat, and we will, or follow up question, and we'll answer you on that one. Hell yeah. So yes and yes.
Our next is Yehiko, who asks, when will we be able to scale assets?
So we're not looking at doing asset scaling. So that's not on the roadmap.
Next is Eurosash. Any update to placeables in Tailweaver?
Not yet. Like we're saying, we've been face down in seat intricacies, which is, it's one of those annoying things. It's such a, like, as a feature to use, there's nothing to it. But God, we found some ways to make it complicated. Yeah, so nothing there yet. Other than, actually, not entirely true. We're working on the tagging system for that, because that's going to be very important to get, like, to know how we're going to handle that and searching before we dive in there. That will be, we'll see if that's at what point that would come. If it's this, like, yeah, I'm going to say if it's this year. I would love to do it this year, but I'm going to say if, because there's a lot of moving parts there, because we, like, for placeables, we need to consider the whole scripting system and things like this. But yeah, so it would be later thing in the year, because one of the things, so we got bug fixes and performance and things like that. I really want to start on the kind of the full dice system, which kind of touches on the edge of rules and things like this. Something that can handle dice roll mechanics from a whole bunch of games, and also dice modding. We're dipping our fingers into that. Our fingers, sure. Yeah, so no specific update on that this month as opposed to last month, but we want to, and it'd be cool. That would be so great. By the time we do the next stream, we might actually have 2 dogs on stream, because we're picking up ours tomorrow, so it's going to be, we're slowly going to just swap out all the people with dogs and then just fucking shut everything down, and it's just going to be dogs. It's going to be fine.
Eurosash also asks, what's the dog's name and how are they doing?
Yeah, dog's name is Norbu, and he is doing just fine, as you can tell by the heavily wagging tail, and he's kind of trying to be the star of the show here, but he's doing just fine.
Yes.
Thank you for asking. Right, no peace.
Doggle23 asks, will you give players access to the tool y'all use for making the game trailers, or something similar, so that DM can make more complex cutscenes?
Why did I start drinking just as you were finishing? I knew that was going to happen. Fucking muppet. Right. Yes, absolutely. It's one of those ones that we want. Like, so Ree was actively working on that before they had their kid, and he was away on paternity leave. So yes, we definitely want to do that. Yeah, it would be great to get back in that. But yes, it's coming.
Itifu, Patty Difu. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm butchering that name. Asks, are we having anytime soon different colors for existing assets?
We don't have tinting stuff coming yet. I really want Johnny to be heavily involved in that, and so I want him to be back in full swing before we dive in there. We've still got the tinting prototypes for creatures. That's kind of sitting there. We just need to kind of like finalize that decision, and then it's got to ripple on down to everything else, which is like starting to update all the assets to be composed in the way that like has the masks on it, so we can do the tinting on everything. And then we want to get a new version of the creature mods out so that you guys can build like kind of masks in the right places that will tell the game what parts are tintable and how. So soon. I can't answer that, but it is coming.
Sayababa asks, any updates on foam terrain to help with more natural looking builds?
The foam terrain's a term we used early on. The design for the terrain has changed significantly since then. Again, that's another one I want Johnny on. We need his skills in there when it comes to how the terrain's being rendered. So I've been holding off on some of that for now, which is fine because we've been busy enough with seats as it is.
JA07SJ asks, are there any plans to do any major updates to existing tiles/props? There are still some ones that seem like they're a little buggy, like the Morgoth 1x1 pillar that's extra wide, the ship torch that casts light but doesn't seem to be lit. But how would you update those without breaking existing maps/builds?
You kind of touch on some of the answers to that. If it's going to break builds, I think we'd sooner deprecate the existing one and make another one that looks almost the same but fixed. If it's something we can do without messing up builds, then we'll just fix the thing. So like I said, the ones, it's a dance. We'll look on it case by case, and it's the way.
Gun Splitters asks, weird question, will we have access to the famous lightning attack that's been showcased in other videos?
Yeah. So no, not that particular one. You're probably thinking of the Kickstarter video where the wizard does the attacks, the orc that's coming out. However, we are going to be looking into visual effects soon-ish. Like there's some Kickstarter rewards that the art team has to kind of bust out, and a couple of tile sets, but I'm really hoping that this year we can start digging into visual effects and get more into the game. It's just they're not regular visual effects. They have to be a certain style. In particular, they kind of have to have physicality, scaled realism, and kind of like a cartoon flair to them. And so with that, it's not just like creating a physical effect, a visual effect. It has to be a visual effect for Tailspire. It has to be something that looks like like Tailspire, almost kind of like the stop motion effect that you see with the flames. If we were to do, any kind of spells or anything like that, it would have to look a certain way. Personally, I am going to be getting into that this year. I've never really been into visual effects. Johnny has made all the visual effects for the game. He's done an amazing job doing that. I gotta kind of like ramp myself up. I gotta learn visual effects and then learn how to do them for Tailspire. But I'm hoping to do that this year. After some of, like I said, we got to get some of these Kickstarter rewards out, and also some tile sets that we kind of had on the docket. But so not that particular lightning bolt, but lightning bolt will be a thing. Absolutely.
Nice.
Dylan asks, are the seats reusable?
100%. So that is the whole one of the whole things is that if you have a seat, when you move between a campaign, you can reuse it for other people. So I was hoping the coffee would help my words come up more easily, but it's not happening yet. It's almost like it's like fucking 10 p.m. on a Friday or something. So if you have two campaigns, you're running with different folks, and you've got like four players in each campaign, and none of them are using a full paid copy. They're using the guest edition. Then you would only need 4 seats. Every time you move between those two campaigns, your seats will move with you, and those players can use those seats. They just fill in the ones that are available, and that's fine. So it is an attempt to kind of bridge that gap between what regular GMs, or quotes regular GMs do, professional GMs who are working like with, hundreds of campaigns and loads of people and all this kind of stuff. It's yeah, we hope that it hits a sweet spot for that.
Fox Monkey D asks, will there be an RGB light asset?
We need to, like, the lighting thing is going to be expanding. I'm not sure. So as far as just like, here's a point light which has no physical representation and like a palette where you can just pick any light, very, very unlikely. Something more Tailspire-y than that. Read restricted but gives nice results, because that's tend to be our thing. We're Tailspire is like with the grid, like with everything else. There's a place that we're trying to sit that we've learned from the kind of Johnny and Jason's Neverwinter Night days of modding. You can make tools which allow you ultimate precision, but a much smaller set of people are able to make things that are really nice. But when you give slightly lower granularity tools, which are easier, it kind of flattens out that curve of kind of quality of production, and you get, I mean, you can look at the stuff that comes out of the community. It's absolutely astonishing how much like high quality stuff there is there and how they play well together. So yes, an arbitrary RGB light asset, don't expect that. Something useful, I hope, very much so.
Jason Blob asks, I was hoping to get further insight into tile sets or tools that enable more organic shapes in building. Most tiles currently are with a 45 or 90 degree corner in mind, but not all environments call for such geometric designs.
Yeah. So like, we are very much like Tailspire in general is very much kind of like your infinite Dwarven Forge set. So there are going to be those kind of things that like we're an abstraction. Like it's like with miniatures itself, like you're dealing with an abstraction of this kind of like it's a pretend version of a pretend space. So it's kind of interesting in that way. So we're not going to move away from that aesthetic. The more organics is going to come in the terrain system, which again, you'll see a bit more kind of fluidity there in the kind of what you can do with caves and things like this. But yes, I think like there's not going to be like, we're not going to have a thing where you can like set exactly which direction this wall is going and things like this.
To pair with that, Pitifo asks, are we getting diagonal assets on already existing groups like Tavern, Castle Ruins, etc.?
Yeah, so we'll be expanding upon the existing tile sets and until 1.0 and to kind of match to kind of match what we have with like the mega dungeon. So diagonal walls, curve, like the towers where they make sense, but diagonal walls for sure. Yeah,
I just picturing the tavern tower now, which is going to be really
yeah, I know. Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah, so from a technical point of view, so when you're building with the angled things, you'll notice it's not as slick as the other ones. There are just like there are clunkinesses there which we're going to need to address, like before we feel like awesome about fleshing out everything. For the dungeons, it's for the kind of mega sector things. It's like mega sector, mega dungeon. It's like they're absolutely mandatory, right? But this is still very much in that test phase. We need to go back and sit down with it and go okay, what's nice about this? What sucks about this? What can we do to our building tools that make this feel good, as good as kind of everything else can?
Yeah.
Because you can't like drag things out in diagonals, for example, and there are places where it gets finicky and. But we'll get that. We'll get it.
Gunsplitters asks, are you guys interested in doing different kinds of torches for miniatures, like different torch colors, flashlight, etc.?
Yeah, I see. I don't know how we would expose that yet. Like there's kind of ways that pop into my head, but I don't know what's best. But we'll have to get prototyping at some point on that. I'm 100% on that because like that little hover guy that we've got with the searchlight is just so nice.
Somebody mentioned this
like,
before, and it was like they said like a flashlight or something, and it was like, oh, dude, that's a great idea. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. It's. I keep on looking at it, going, fuck yeah, we need to do something like that. Sorry, this is apparently the sweary stream this time, but
we're not monetized.
I forget. Oh, yeah, that's true. I forget that it's not. Yes, it's not after dark for everyone in the world.
Okay. Yahiko asks, will we be able to have custom dice?
Yes, that's definitely the goal. So first part of that is getting the dice like logic system in there, and then it'll be looking into modding. What that means in terms of like, yeah, because there's going to have to be some things for like. So if you make a die, how does the game know whether you've weighted it or not? If you say, "Oh yeah, this is a totally fair die," I mean, but it's like because all of our dice things are physics simulated, right? We don't pre-compute we don't go, okay, it's 6 faces, pick a random side, and then like make it go to that face, which is what you see in some games. We're literally just going, all right, fling it, like you throw it. It's your dice, you throw them, and then it's simulated, so you get all the yeah, you're affected by the same fate influences as you are in the real world to decide what the result of that roll is. So yeah, I don't know what we do there as far as like making sure. I suppose, I mean, we can leave it up to you in terms of people could review dice and say, oh, this one seems sketchy, but we'd need a way to really prove that. So we probably need a little kind of a thing where we can just run this physics sim really fast, doing random rolls and just seeing what the distribution comes. There are some interesting cases there for dice, for actually like modding the physical form of the dice. When it comes to like the images, like if we say, okay, these are the kind of palette of dice that we have right now, your kind of D20s, D6s, and all this kind of stuff, and you can swap out all the images on them, that's different. That's much easier and doesn't affect, we don't have to worry about the probabilities and stuff there so much. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But yes, that's I would love, this year we need a richer dice macro system for sure, which is going to touch into some of the rule stuff. And then we'll look at like how modding of actual, the physical aspect will work.
Okay. Gone Splitters ask, is there a better way for a player to point at stuff like the DM light in the works?
Yeah, this is the pinging system.
Yep.
That yeah, 100%. Where we want to be able to just like a ping here and have like again, if something is not on screen, the indicator at the side. We've got like stuff for this sitting kind of in like early prototype stage. It just needs taken through. I'm so excited to get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Tretchbolt asks, are there any updates as far as new music? Weather? 2 separate questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, new music will be coming for the Mega Sector. So I got a couple of songs for the Mega Sector, but I mean, they're just a couple of songs. Really, Chris and I have been talking. I think a lot of us have been talking about like just the music system in Tailspire and what that is going to look like in the future. And there's just a lot of ideas being tossed around. So there will be new music, but like as far as like just tracks and things like that, we'll get into that later. But there will be some new music coming.
Yeah.
And as far as weather is going to be part of. Well, that's a whole other system. We're gonna have to wait for Johnny on that one. And
I need to get to work on the particle system. Actually, that's bottlenecking that one right now. But it'll come. Well, it's gonna be fun. You might have noticed a pattern in some of these, which is we're a little there's some things awaiting. Johnny and Hannah are doing good, but they are 2 members of the full-time team. So we've got a bunch of us on part-time and a few of us on full-time, and so we are shorter on staff than we expected to be at this point in the year, which is why everything's taking a bit longer. And we're going to be going to, like say a lot of questions are going to be answered with, yep, still coming. But sorry, they're not as exciting answers as I want them to be. Let's do the next one.
Horizontal Bob asks, are there plans for a hex-based tile system for maps in D&D or TTRPGs like Lancer?
Short answer is no. Long answer is like, so we tried to like think about so if you look at the FAQ, it's like, oh yeah, we could probably do this. Like the building system originally was definitely made to be able to like handle that kind of stuff. It's evolved a lot, so it will take some work to get that back. I wouldn't expect it. Like it is post V1 by a long way. You're going to see peer-to-peer before that lands. So I would say the short version is no. The long version is once we get there, that'd be dope. But there are a lot of things to. There are a lot of small details that make the building system feel nice that would need to be changed for it to feel really good with hexes.
Okay. JAO7SJ asks, would it be possible to get controls for draw distance and shadow rendering distance so that users can tweak performance?
I can look at that. Yeah, I'll see what I can't remember what settings Unity has for that and how we can expose those. We can have a peek. My gut reaction is that that's a good question, but I would like to answer it in a different way, which is like, this is running badly on your machine. What can I make faster? Like, how can I get it so you don't have to disable a lot of stuff? Now, that's never going to work in the full case. And we have, obviously, you can go into settings like turn off shadows and things, but on off is pretty low granularity rather than, actually, no, we do have low res shadows, don't we? I think. My brain's failing me. Actually, I can check here. I'm running Tailspire. Goodness sake, let's have a look. Shadow quality, yes. So we can do we can turn off soft shadows to get a little more speed, or set to no shadows. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me bring back the question so I make sure I'm not forgetting things. But yes, we need another big push on performance because there are some staggeringly slow stuff in there, especially on some machines. It's really interesting. Again, this is not news to anyone who does this kind of stuff, but between just different GPUs, you get some really, really interesting things that go slow versus fast. My ThinkPad laptop here runs absolutely dog slow, but there is it's to do with 80% of the frame time is down to just some part of how we do picking, the pixel perfect picking. So if I change that, suddenly that laptop would start running quite nicely for Tailspire. So we've got to tweak a whole bunch of levels, and then we'll see whether the shadow stuff is still what's slowing your machine down.
Borodust asks, where to get such great beards as all the Bouncyrock team on the stream put on?
So now this is an inside job because Borodust is on our team and has the best beard. So
yeah,
I don't know what he's going for here. But consider yourself judged, Borodust.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a fake beard.
Monophos asks, is there a way to lock a grouping for minis? There's marker tokens that are status effects. That'd be awesome to just stick to tokens instead of having to keep selecting areas.
Yep.
So I'm gonna make sure I haven't been dumb. Is this so you can bind a whole group to a key or something like this?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're doing a rank and file or rank and flank
Hell
game
yeah.
like Warhammer or something like that, you have just a mass of orcs or something, and you just
Or potentially they also might mean selecting one mini selects both minis in the group. But a keybind is how it's done in a lot of games.
Yeah, Monophos, expand on what you would like there. There's a lot of interesting possibilities, because we could, because it's a whole bunch of IDs, for example, we could actually store the selection as a thing that you could put in your bar down the bottom. So we just say, okay, this group drag it down here, and then just by clicking that, we could select them all again. We could also do a thing of again, when I was doing RTS stuff, we would just bind a bunch of groups to number keys so we could get between them easily and shit like that. It's yeah, please expand.
Hopefully,
but obviously we're not. Yeah, clearly we're not against the idea.
Hopefully they'll get back to us with some expansion on that.
Yeah, please do.
Fox Monkey D asks, will you share your Spotify list that y'all listen to while y'all develop?
That changes so much. Yeah. I won't be doing that because I feel very self-conscious. But yeah. Actually, I can make one recommendation. If for certain kinds of programming, there's a website that my friend set up called Music for Programming. If I remember correctly, let me just make sure I get that right. Music for Programming. Yes. And it has a whole bunch of folks have collated together playlists. My brain's not working right now in terms of what they're doing, but it's music that is designed to be fully experienced while being in the background. And for my I find when I'm having real trouble focusing, those kind of collections, some of them anyway, have been really helpful. Sometimes it's just white noise and waterfall kind of stuff to get me to focus. Jason?
Oh no, I don't have a Spotify, but I do have a Bandcamp page that it's just a bunch of metal and dungeon synth. That's basically all it is, man.
We have a type. Yes. Awesome.
Okay. Gon Splitters ask, what kind of assets are you guys more excited to create?
Ooh.
Okay, so yeah, right now, I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited to start fleshing out some of the like groups that we have. So, for instance, we have like a fish guy that's supposed to be a Kuatoa, right? We can't call it a Kuatoa, but who is this fish guy? And it's just one model, you know. We have some goblins, but the goblins, well, in my opinion, and I can say this because I made them, they look like crap. So I would like to make like brand new lines of some of these species, and I'm looking forward to like getting into like defining I don't want to say like the world of Tailspire, but just kind of like really making because when I started, I was not a 3D modeler. I was very getting into it, but as I've over the years developing and making stuff for Tailspire, I've gotten better. So I'd love to revisit like orcs, goblins, croakers, or whatever, Kuatoas, those kinds of things, these kind of base creatures, and really make like full lines of them, so that when somebody pulls it out, they have the shamans, the warriors, or the warrior types, and et cetera, et cetera. I'd really like to kind of get into that, and that's basically it, man. It's really cool working on Tailspire because you can do just about anything. And I grew up playing D&D, so I mean, this is like a dream project, and getting to work on this kind of stuff with a really quick pipeline that is not very painful. We don't have to rig and animate like our characters, which would call for certain retopologizing, retopology and things like that. We have a really nice fast pipeline, which makes it even more fun to get your ideas out and into the game. And so going forward, that's kind of like what I'm excited about. And generally speaking, more often than not, I'm into to medieval fantasy, like the D&D side of it. Now I know we have cyberpunk, and I know we have like sci-fi, and there are times where I'm super into that. For instance, like getting into the mega sector and things has been really cool. And you just like anything else, you start doing like a new set, you start like creating creatures or whatever like that. You'll start for the mega sector, it's like, oh, I'm going to start watching some alien movies, Blade Runner, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like sink into things like that, and it's fun, So yeah, that's a really. Before I ramble anymore, there you go.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like depending on where you are, like whenever I'm working on like something that is a really big project, I start daydreaming about doing just like tiny features. I just want to work on like bug fixes. Let me do something where I can do like 3 fixes in a day. And then after like several weeks of doing like tiny things, I'm like, give me a massive project I can just sink my teeth into. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely a response to whatever I'm doing right now is the stuff I'm kind of excited next to be making. And yeah, right now I like performance is one that's just like, so it's not assets, sorry, but yeah, and I know that like the bug is going to come down the line for doing the scripting system for placeables, which will be fun. But the problem is like, yeah, let's say it's all of it's exciting because then I think about the particle system and I just want to do that so bad. So great. GPU particles. Yeah. Right. Next.
Sir Hatch89 asks, will there be support for other attacks made by modding? as in like the red laser, the green laser, lightning bolt, etc.
That sounds really dope. I can't see why we wouldn't want to do that down the line. It won't be this year, because like we need to see what the particle system looks like, and then how to expose that to you folks. Because the way we've like traditionally done that has been using kind of Unity's animation system and all this kind of stuff. But we're making sure we don't like tie ourselves too heavily into Unity systems, especially when we need to do the kinds of numbers of assets which tend to be slow. So that's a really winding way of saying that would be really cool. I don't know what that looks like yet, so I don't know what is going to be needed to ship that to you. Yeah.
JA07SJ asks, on the subject of visual effects, would effects like god rays or clouds be possible in Tailspire? There would be cool ways to add more atmosphere to a board.
Ooh. Yeah, right. God rays. Not again. None of these are impossible. But clouds are interesting, because if you start having clouds, you build a big tower into the sky. You turn on clouds. How do you know if a cloud is inside the building? And then you have this idea of like, what does inside mean when you just have a bunch of tiles? Like, take a given point in the world and just tell you if it's inside or not. And then, it just gets really messy really fast. So I don't quite know how to do clouds in a really solid way that's makes sense for like the kind of user generated content that you folks produce. It's kind of tricky. That's a really interesting one. So yeah, God rays, it's not impossible. I don't know where exactly, rather than just having a switch that just says God rays, where that fits into kind of the atmosphere system. But I won't rule it out. But yeah, clouds are fun, or any of those kind of things that are kind of.
It looks like chat is speaking up about specifically mentioning masking clouds with a virtual texture and setting layers
Yeah,
on
right.
Clouds.
Right. There's all those kind of techniques. That's the thing. There's no one true system for anything. Like games are massive piles of smoke and mirrors. They're just all this gorgeous, like cacophony of lies that like goes into like making anything look real. So like one of the atmosphere systems that I was reading into was how they did it in Horizon Zero Dawn, which is lovely. Like the way they're able to get so much with relatively few taps into their kind of clouds and stuff like this, and get the volumetrics. It's lovely. It's so good. But I still don't know. Like it works for their kind of scape. I actually haven't played the later ones, so I actually don't know if you can fly on things in the later ones, which would change some of the dynamics of how you interact with clouds. So I should actually go and play some more games and see how they do that. But yeah, it's whatever we pick, once we've picked it and exposed it to you, because you are the creators, that's your palette, right? And then you make things that make sense with that palette. And so then we're kind of tied into that forever. So it's an interesting one to try and decide on. So I don't know what clouds are going to look like yet. It's cool.
We're going to jump ahead. Monophos has come back to kind of elaborate a little more about the grouping.
Love us.
I guess there's a whole lot of possibilities to lock a group of minis together. Once you move another mini, the previous grouping is broken. I mean, it's more of me being lazy, not wanting to select an area over and over and over. I do wonder about adding status effect indicators to minis.
Yeah, right. That would like status absolutely. Like the status effect indicator thing shouldn't be a problem at all, because we already do kind of like, so like we have the knockdown status right now, and you can select a whole bunch and click on that and we apply the knockdown status. It'll be no different as far as the emotes go. Emotes, another thing that's going to be fun to get in there. The persistent emotes, I mean, for status effects and things like this. Yes, but then it's kind of interesting because like, do you want that kind of locking them together as if they were on one big base is very different from like when you drag those, right? When you grab a group right now and you drag them through a bunch of trees, they'll move around trees, right? But if you lock them into one base, do we treat it like that's one big base? And then your group can't get through certain kind of obstacles, which will feel weird. But we don't have a thing that's like, oh, this is a wall and this isn't a wall, because like you folks build walls out of just about anything. So like if we say, okay, this is a wall, but like bars of soap aren't a wall, there is already a build which is entirely bars of soap. So like then that's not going to work. So yeah. So I'm interested when you have a group, if you can store a selection, which is like it's all of these guys, or is it all of these guys in this configuration? And how does it respond when they go through terrain? It's really interesting. So yes, but I hear you. Rather than selecting an area, I think like just being able to choose a bunch of folks and say these 5 characters are a group, and I could select them in whatever configuration where they click. Yeah, I feel you on that one.
I'll pipe in with Monophos. I would suggest go to our feature request board at feedback.tailspire.com.
Yeah, there probably is already a thing there for that. So if you see it, give them the old updo.
Next, Sir Hatch89 asks, are the seats only purchasable by the DMs?
No, we definitely. So it's amazing being on the kind of the tool side of this equation, because the feedback you get is wonderfully conflicting. So we have people that have specifically said to us, like kind of in the way of like I'm summarizing, but like it's not on for DMs to have to pay for everything. That's no good. We need to be able to spread the load. And for what it's worth, we agree that should be an option. So yeah, seats are purchasable by anyone with a full copy of Tailspire. So if you've got 2 folks in your party that each own 2 seats already, then you've got enough for 4 more players who aren't paying, using the guest edition to get in. But also, we get feedback going, there is no way that my players will ever pay anything for anything, and it's my job as the DM to buy things. And so it's like, we've got to make sure that we're like trying to straddle that kind of thing. It's so cool. But it does make designing things interesting. So to your actual answer, sorry, like it was, the question made me excited about just how complicated things are, which is great. But yeah, are the seats only purchased by DMs? No, they're purchasable by anyone with a full copy of the game. Yes.
In the vein of seats, Antimatter God, any chance to lower the guest seat prices? They seem very steep so far.
Yeah, we're not planning on lowering the prices. They will be regionalized, so I don't know where you're based, but it will be scaled to match the kind of region that you're in. It'll be scaled to make sense. How am I trying to say this, right? The prices you've seen, the ratios of the prices for the US, it'll be the same ratios in other places against the base price of the game. So if that's the thing, then they will be a lot more reasonable there. But yeah, we just got to, it is a dance, but we want to keep this, we really don't want to do that. We don't want to be gouging anyone. And everyone, like, there's so many different approaches to what the pricing should be. So you've got like some of the VTTs out there are like, hey, you pay this, the GMs pay this big price, but then everyone else gets it free. Or hey, there's a subscription which is substantial. And I personally hate subscriptions. I don't want to not own things. And I know we're in this weird spot because at the moment we don't have a peer-to-peer option. So you're still kind of held at our like whims and things like this. Hopefully we can fix that down the line. The game is definitely designed to reach peer-to-peer stage one day. So yes, we're going to go with these prices for now. We're listening, we're reviewing it, we're trying like to think of other options and ways of doing things that make this work. But we've got to get this game complete, and there are certain costs that just aren't getting any lower, and that's like the costs for the team. We can do all kinds of optimization on the back end to make servers cheaper, but your main thing is keeping everyone fed and clothed, as it were.
Okay. Mangonesium asks, what's the next priority for the team, feature-wise, after seats are out?
Feature, let me think. So we're going to do the bug month. We're going to do a whack at performance. It really depends kind of what absolutely takes me, but it's quite possibly the dice macro system, so that you can have properly advanced dice rolls with exploding or all the kind of things you'd come to expect. We're analyzing a whole bunch of rule systems of different games and making sure that we can do all the things we need. I think that's where I want to be. But what's actually going to happen is we're going to sit down a little closer and see what is the most pressing thing then. Yeah. Could be emotes, could be dice.
Wayfork Woodworks says, love this resource. Do you think there's any chance of simple logic switches being added for controlling variables on a board, i.e., two players move into a bed and a trigger space changes time of day from night to day?
Yeah. Okay, so would be part of a system that we have not started scoping out yet, which would be kind of scenario scripting. So yeah, scenario scripting would be I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I know it's not this year. But yeah, being able to build machines like that would be super dope. I love the idea. I don't know what that, again, like the tooling for that, so you can make things like, okay, you do this over here and that opens this gate over here. It becomes you get into all kinds of really exciting problems of the language design and systems design, which is fucking exactly the kind of thing I would love to be working on as well. So that would be really fun. I love seeing those videos, like this person like made a computer in Minecraft and stuff like this, and it completely works. So I would love to see something like that. But it's also got to be like super performant, like, or again, it's got to run well. We can't just have like, oh, you have like 20,000 things, therefore the game runs slow. No, it'll have to be quick. So yeah, it's going to be a fun challenge. Do you think there's a chance of simple logic switches? Yes. What that system will look like, I'm not sure, because like I would need to sit down with a whole bunch of games and tools and look at what kind of scripting across a 3D space looks like. Like Jason and Johnny have a lot of insight as well with the kind of old Neverwinter Nights style kind of conversation systems and things like that for scenario scripting. We've got we have a lot of opinions. We'll see what comes out of it.
Lazy Tortoise 75 asks, do I have to publish custom minis to Mod.io to have my seated players have their own minis?
No. So the seat stuff, we've put as few restriction into the seat players as possible. The only thing that I think we don't allow them to do is create their own campaigns. Mods for them are the same. They can use Hero Forge. They can do all that kind of stuff. It's there. It's so you can publish them to Mod.io, and that's fine. Or you can just make the TS mod files and share them with them, and they can drop them in the same directory that you would do locally, and it just works. We still have to make all these features, so why not give them to you if we can? Yeah.
Tretchbolt asks, can we get more varieties of sizes for circular walls?
Not sure yet. That one we'll before we balloon that, we'll look at building.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for larger, that's going to be tough. We're kind of limited right now to a 4x4 inside a Tailweaver, but that, I don't know if that may be expanded. Smaller, possibly, yeah. It's just something that we'll have to look into.
This is if people are looking for someone to blame, that's me. The maximum size a tile can be right now in the game engine is 8x8x8, because that means it can. I think it's 8x8. Yeah, it stops straddling more zones. How do I want to say this? The world is split up into chunks. Right. I want to make sure that tiles don't cross more than 4 chunks. I think it's 4 chunks, 8 chunks, depending on the corners. It doesn't cross too many edges. Otherwise, math for things starts getting more complicated and things get slower. So yeah, it's a restriction. But yes, we won't make it arbitrarily large, like Jason's saying.
Genghis asks, will fog/mist be able to be placed in areas rather than blanket form?
Yeah, that'd be dope, right? I mean, we could do... Technically, we could do something like the water tiles with fog and stuff like that, but that would... No. I would like... I'm really interested to see if when we're doing the terrain system, the approach we're doing for making the terrain chunks, if that could be like a fog material there. That'd be really fun, because we'd have to do that for water anyway, so you can have localized lakes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm open to the idea that the fog is working in a similar way. Yeah, I'd like to prototype that and see what I haven't thought about there that would be suddenly a problem.
To go back on the circle bits, Chad is talking. It's less about having larger tiles, but having several smaller tiles with circular wall sections that are at a less acute circular angle.
Oh, I see. So slower, kind of progressive ones. They're interesting, right? Because then you're having to like switch between different tiles to really complete that curve and build that out, if I'm understanding correctly. And that just sounds it sounds not fun, is what it sounds. It sounds like it would be useful for some cases, but it doesn't sound
Also,
fun to build.
trying to decipher the tiles inside of the library too.
Yeah, right. Like they need to be glanceable. This is a Tailspire problem, not a you, not a
right.
you and the community problem.
No.
But yeah.
Our next question is from JA07SJ. They ask, any chance of Tailspire merch? I'd love a hoodie with the logo on it.
Me too. Me too. We started looking at merch already. Okay, so there's a couple of parts of it. We don't want shit merch. Like, we don't want something that feels bad. Just like, slap the Tailspire logo on something and ship it. You want it to be something that you're proud that people are wearing. Finding a good supplier for that is interesting. And it's just a bunch of work. Like, I remember before we were doing, I think it was a hoodie, actually. I can't remember. Was it a hoodie Johnny was doing, or was it the shirts? I just remember some prototypes arriving. This is years ago now. And just like feeling like materials and just going, this isn't it. And we didn't keep iterating on that. The other thing is just like, merch is just like, I love listening to the Linus Tech Tips kind of stuff when they're talking about their merch business, because it is hard, and I really appreciate it, like insight from companies on like stuff being tricky to do. And yeah, we wouldn't want to do a crap job. So it would be, I suppose, if we could find a partner that like everything comes out of them we're happy with, and that can get to all the places that people are. Yeah. Merch scares me. Physical stuff scares me. I'm much happier with digital stuff, but I feel I would love some stuff. I've got where's my little Tailspire coasters that were made for us by some lovely folks quite a while ago now.
Sir Hatch asks, are there any plans to make individual visual range for each player who selected their miniature and be limited by an actual warfog?
So yeah, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? So the I don't know. I would like to have something there. It's not that bit is the I was about to say it's not a technical problem, but there is a technical component to it. So if we just say we show things that are within a certain range, that's easy to compute. And so that's just a rendering problem. Let's say it's just a rendering problem. Then we just need to have good UI for picking those ranges and making sure you can update those. Yeah, I'm interested in what that would look like. It shouldn't be too horrendous. But then you've got like a system like Fog of War, like proper Fog of War, 3D Fog of War, where the cost of calculating what is visible goes up with range and goes up, exponentially with range, quadratically, something like that. It's complex. So which means like our range limit, like we've always had these range limits. Actually, like now, when you move things around and like NPCs become visible or not visible based on where you're standing, there's a hard cap to that range based on just like we have to render the scene from the character's point of view and to work out what's visible. And the more stuff you're rendering, the more expensive that is. And there are low-end machines, and it's already too expensive. So that is a very long way of saying not much, isn't it? Individual range sounds nice.
I am going to go.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next question, I am going to go ahead and officially close the question bot here at the top of the hour. We got a long queue of questions still to go through.
We do. God, you folks are all. Thank you so much for dropping by.
We want to make sure that we get through them all. So therefore, we're going to go ahead and close the question bot at this portion.
Yeah, it's I I really appreciate this. This is one of these months where we've like, or couple of months now, isn't it? It's like I was really nervous coming on the stream because I don't feel like we've got enough to show you. It's like, hey, we're doing seats and it's taken a really long time and things like this. So thank you so much for kind of like all these wicked questions and just hanging out. I really like it. Yeah, let's dive back into it.
Our next question comes from Sai Baba, who asks, when do you think we could get the expanded symbiotes functionality to be able to affect board states?
You keep reminding me of cool things, right? Yes. I don't know. So much of this depends on like what order do we want to give you things in. Like, yeah, if I'm doing dice, it's going to push that back. If we do symbiotes, it's going to bring that forward. I think I know how I want that to. I think I was saying this last time. I think I know how I want that to work in like building up transactions of tiles and stuff like this to be able to place it on the board, or like state change sets that can then be applied, and then waiting on those to complete before you can send another one. Things like this. Ways to make sure that symbiotes don't like just shut down your network with blasting traffic across it. I don't know. I would love to tell you. I don't know. It's just going to depend on the order we pick things.
Our next question comes from Fox Monkey D. Will you allow for campaign-based setting preset for stats, so all minis can have values for stats input more quickly?
So the way we've got that so far is that you can set up stats on a creature, and then you can just copy-paste that creature. And when you copy-paste it, it produces a blueprint string, which can be kept. What I definitely want to do is to be able to have that be something you can put in your inventory, so you can then just click and place those, or put them into some kind of library that you can use, so things are pre-set up. We have the technology. We're kind of set up to be able to do that. But for now, I would say, copy-paste might be your friend on that one. If I'm understanding the question. If not, I'm very sorry, because we can't get an update on it.
Yeah, I had kind of combined they did a clarification question, and I did edit this to combine them.
Nice.
But more or less what I believe they were going for is being able to quickly input new stats, like on new creatures. Not necessarily, sure, copy and paste is great once you've set it up, but you have to set it up first.
Yeah, so will you allow for campaign-based setting preset for stats? So what would that look like for... So like so like let's say it's health, for example. It would be one of the stats that lives on a creature. Setting that campaign wide, I don't know what that does, because if you're placing an orc, the default will be different. The default health is going to be different from if you're placing a dragon, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know what that feature looks like. Please turn that into a feature request, and we will review it, because obviously we can't do a good. Obviously, right now I'm not doing a good job answering your question. So let's get it into a format that I can do a little better.
Horizontal Bob 28 asks, are there plans for a player spotlight tool like with how the GM has one? If yes, would different colors for each player be possible? Like player 1 has a red light, player 2 has a blue light, etc.
So I think that's going to be less the a light in that case, and that'll be more the ping system.
Yeah, the ping.
You think that, Jason? Yeah. Yeah, so let's look at player pings, and we'll see once that's in how that feels for you folks, and we'll see what the need still is there.
Demon Gund asks, any thoughts on a toggle to make all tokens visible to all players without having much with ownership? It's a lot of work to set up a Warhammer fantasy game, so terrain/line of sight doesn't do weird things.
Demon Gund, do you yeah, I was going to say, what happens if you just make all your folks like GMs, or like that's pretty clunky, because then they can edit the board. But I know, for example, like Z just makes all of his players GMs for certain kinds of things, because he just trusts them to behave, kind of thing. And then they can kind of build together for certain scenarios, and they don't worry about the line of sight stuff pretty much at all. I'd be interested to see. I'm not against that as a feature request for sure. I'd love to. Yeah, we need to give that some good thought.
Sir Hatch89 asks, would it be possible to export a JPEG into a painter canvas in Tailspire?
I'm afraid I don't know what a painter canvas is, so
I'm assuming they're talking about things we've seen, which is like the image to plane, like putting a flat image on the board, perhaps.
But this is exporting a JPEG.
Yeah, that's true.
So other than the kind of image capture stuff that we have already, the screen. What am I talking about? What do we call that feature? The camera.
So in photo mode, yeah, you can.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can hit F6, go into photo mode. You can get a top-down view of your map, and then you can export it from there.
Apparently, what they specifically mean is flat images inside paintings.
Oh,
So being able to change the painting, different paintings within.
I totally see the utility of that, and I don't. Honestly, I like. Oh man. Yeah, right. There's all kind of uses that would be really fun for that kind of stuff. I don't have an answer for you right now. I agree. That is pretty cool. So let's say not yet.
Yahiko asks, will we be able to link hiding volumes together?
Oh god, hide volumes. Yes, that's something I don't think about enough, but needs love every time I do think about it. We need something there. We need a better solution around hide volumes. Like the problem is that hide volumes have been like neglected because it's like, oh yeah, but when we've got Fog of War, everything's gonna be fine. And then I built the old Fog of War system and it was rubbish, so we threw it away and started again. Or it's still in there, but it's essentially kind of dead. Yeah, I don't. That would provide a good that would be a tool that would help a whole bunch of you right now. I'm not sure it's the solution we want to kind of commit to. There are tricky things because one of the things is your board doesn't just load. We load in parts of a board as you kind of move the camera around. So what if you're linking hide volumes across parts of the board that are loaded and parts that are unloaded, and then you change the state on, like, oh, this set of hide volumes are visible, but this part of the board hasn't loaded, so we can't update that bit, even though they've changed. So then the state, like where we store the states for hide volumes needs to completely change because that lives in the board chunks. So I don't think we'll be doing it that way. But we need a better tool for this because it's just so painful for you folks right now. It's kind of embarrassing. It weighs on my mind, that's for sure.
JA07SJ asks, would there be any way to update assets on Mod.io within Tailspire? I keep making small slabs to help me build things more quickly, but if I screw something up when making the slab, then I need to go to the website, delete the mod, confirm, and then go back to the game and re-upload the asset.
Yes, is the answer. We can do some things we definitely do things to make that easier. Yeah, do we not have a way to update? I guess we don't have a way to update slabs properly right now, do we? Yeah, we do need that feature down the line. But there's been some, like when I was making that system, there are some provisos there for that to be possible. Yeah, of course, we only have that's not finished, is it? Yeah, we've only have the things for updating the details, like the metadata around it right now, not replacing and updating stuff. You're right. Yeah, we need that. That's a good call. Yeah, I need to think about that because no, actually that shouldn't be too crazy. Slabs are very different from creatures in that regard. So yeah, let's do a better job there.
Jay Fabre asks, do you plan to spend more effort on the gameplay experience, not building? I.e. minis don't get lost in the map, grid for players, dices delete themselves after a while, etc.
So the points the specifics you raise there on like suggestions are their own. Each of them are their own thing. So I won't speak to that. Do you plan to spend more effort in the games? Like, yes. Oh my god! Like the building thing is not where we want to be spending all our time. It's really funny because obviously right now we're more of a building tool almost than anything else. That's like where the most visible work has been done. But it's not what. I'm not gonna say it's not what interests us, but it's like it's not the point. The point is stories, and we haven't done work on the like features for like storytelling in so long. Anything that kind of really enhances that, it's frustrating to all of us. Yeah, it's something we talk about.
Horizontal Bob 28 asks, any plans on adding something to the creature modding to tag the creatures with types to be able to order the models more than just alphabetically?
Yes, there is a huge piece of work that's been done on tagging by Chair. So by Chair Banter, sorry. So that is really that's coming together actually. Let's see what do we need to do there. We have the prototype for the tagging system for creatures sitting there. We have an external contractor who is currently away on the honeymoon. So when they are back, we'll be setting them loose on tagging a bunch of creatures to see how it feels, because we need to make sure the experience is good for you folks and that the tags work as intended. Then we can build that into Tailweaver Lite, and then it's something you can use, and we'll have a blessed setup. Okay, so like Mod.io allows us to set a bunch of tags, but they're not unlimited. There's a couple of ways of tagging. There's like the visible tags, and there's also metadata, and you should be able to do searches based on metadata. They haven't exposed that in the Unity API, but because it's in the web API, we can hack that in, so that'll be fine. All that is to say, yes, we want to do that. We want to have proper tagging. It is all in the works. It's been in the works for a very long time, and we have a roadmap to get that to you. Yep.
Suslet Core 15 asks, any plans for implementing notes inside Tailspire, like editable text areas when clicked on a button in the radio menu of a mini, or even in the radio menu of a bookmark? It would be cool to have information spread across the map for GMs to navigate.
See, that's exactly the kind of gameplay thing that we're just like haven't gone back to. The GM block kind of thing is a completely unfinished kind of unfinished system. Yeah, we definitely want notes. We want to be able to have like we were calling them chests before, but like chests that only GMs can see that are placed on the board that you can put stuff into. So it's like, oh, here's like some atmosphere settings. Here's these different things. Here's a bunch of notes that I have for this area, this section of gameplay. Yeah, there needs to be notes. The experience of just writing stuff needs to be nice enough. Oh god, actually, yeah. Text is a lot harder. Don't make text editors, but yeah, like we should be able to put some stuff in there for some basic text stuff. Yeah, the notes need to be an asset you can pass around, place on the board, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'd love to do that. It's on the roadmap.
Sir Hatch says, what about rain?
All part of the weather system. We want the GPU particle system because we want to be able to read the depth information into the scene, so we can make particles splash at the right points. And so, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. And for that, we need particles that spawn particles and all that kind of stuff. And to get the numbers of them, we want to run it on the GPU. So yeah, GPU particle system, visual effects, weather.
Our next question is actually basically asked by two people. And it's both Fox Monkey V and Suslet Core 15 asking about, will we see statuses like poisoned or stunned for minis and counters for these statuses anytime soon? And will they be editable via mods?
Ooh. Modding would come later. Yes, we want to get those things in. We have, we have a chunk of that feature made already. So soon it really could be the next feature I work on. It's going to depend on which one wins. What I want to do with those is resurrect what code was already written for that, see what state it's in, especially in the visual effects portion of it. If it works well, then it shouldn't be too hard to get that finished and into the game. Excuse me. But yeah, if it turns out to be a bigger project, it'll probably get pushed behind DICE or something similar. Oh, great, hiccups, that's what we need.
Lemurian Settler asks, will we get to see more variations in roofing angles? Having new types of roof slopes, especially steeper stuff, would be so helpful for creating better overall builds in cities.
Yeah. So first of all, what we do need is more variation in roof types right now. So we're going to work on that first, but that is, as we work on that, absolutely, I'll take in to see what kind of additional angles we could be adding. if you have any ideas that you'd like to share, yeah, please put in an asset request, just about any ideas, angles, etc., that you'd like to see, because as we expand the tile sets, with additional angles and this that, we do want to start adding more roof tiles as well. So
yeah, asset request is one of the things that almost most directly guides what we do. Like when we go in to work out what's next, we do look at votes and all this kind of stuff in assets.
JA07SJ asks, does the concept of reaching 1.0 actually mean anything to Tailspire? Like, is there some big feature or date milestone that will pass and the team decides, yes, TS is ready for full launch? Or is the current release schedule more vibes based?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, there absolutely is. There's a whole bunch of features. So basically, where the roadmap that you can see online right now, that's definitely all of those kind of things that are in our official roadmap are kind of requirements for making Tailspire what would be kind of the V1. From the asset side, I know Jason can speak to, but there's like making sure we have a suitable enough the kind of the vibe there is like there has got to be enough of a variety of stuff that you could run campaigns comfortably, which is vague, but like it kind of, we'll know it when we feel it kind of thing. It's the kind of thing of like, hey, do we have enough? Like, do we have some vampires? We don't have to have every kind of niche vampire. That's for like, we can release vampire packs separately. So that doesn't need to be there for a V1, but we need all the kind of like classic kind of stuff around there. And that's what, again, there's been a lot of work fleshing that out. But yeah, feature-wise, yeah, we have to have that emote system. We have to flesh out the persistent emotes and status effects. We need to have a nice inventory system. We like symbiotes has been a complicating factor because that wasn't in the original plan and has really taken on its own life, which is lovely. But yeah, just check the roadmap. There's a lot of stuff there. That's
Character creator, terrain system,
character creator. Oh my god, yes.
All of these things, and some of the assets like Chris was just talking about, vampires and stuff like that. So maybe some of those things could be in the character creator, where certain faces you can just fangs, and then boom, you can have all kinds of different vampires. Yeah, we'll see. But as far as assets are concerned, until the features are kind of like finished, we're just going to keep pushing assets into the game. So yeah, there's going to be more tile sets. I'd love to see a dwarven tile set like this year. More cyberpunk stuff, neon, like see what we can do about neon signs. Whatever. Yeah, there's going to be a lot. And to say there is no like for assets, yeah, it's just gonna like Chris said, we're just gonna have to go by feel and like whether or not like we feel okay, this is enough. It almost feels that way, but it's not. There's so much more we could do.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I remember you saying the dwarven thing was something you really wanted to do some dwarven packs. That was something really exciting stuff. That was cool.
Okay. Lemurian Settler asks, any chance we could get the sci-fi lights in more colors? They do so much for ambiance and atmosphere.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, good call. Please throw that into an asset request. I don't want that to get lost.
Right.
Yeah, we need to write down like our own kind of internal kind of golden rules for lighting, so we can answer these more consistently. But yeah, definitely throw that in there so it doesn't get lost, please.
Evil Brit asks, any chance of being able to tint sections of assets with different colors?
Creatures, yes. Tiles and props, no plans for that right now. Oh, no plans for that. Let's say no to tiles and props for now, and creatures.
Yahiko asks, falling water assets maybe?
That's really interesting. We've got the terrain system definitely has some opinions on doing things like roads and paths and things like this, and rivers. So yeah, necessarily in there would have to be something about waterfalls. I'm not comfortable making a call on that without Johnny. But I know I remember conversations we've had around these kind of topics. I don't know what the implementation of those will be, so I don't want to promise anything about them. But yeah, will be dope, right?
Okay. Lemurian Settler asks, will we see more arches soon? Marble Palace would be so amazing if it had arches like in Desert Village or Ruined Castle.
Oh.
I long for arches.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
more.
Asset requests. Please
Please.
make an asset request for that, because those little things like that would be great for just kind of like the next pack we're gonna release, just miscellaneous stuff.
Mhm.
Because that sounds like a maybe a tile, or maybe like, yeah. So when we go to expand the tile sets, absolutely, please put in a asset request for that, so we don't forget. It's not that, yeah.
Evil Brit asks, any chances of a clear chat button and an asset counter to be added?
I don't know what the asset counter would be in that case. So, like, I wanted to have like a count thing into inventories in general, because it makes it interesting for like, you could give someone like an object that represents like money, for example, in your game, and then you could scroll that up and down, and then they could take things out, and it would decrement the count.
I
But I
could be
don't know what
wrong.
you mean by this.
I
Yeah.
believe they might mean like assets on the board.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, there's as always, everything's more complicated than it should, but than you'd want it to be, because the board isn't loaded at the whole time. There's no way to know what the asset counts of all the parts of the board are. But we could do an asset count for the bits that are currently loaded, and stuff like that. Yeah, and a clear chat button sounds good. Actually, yes. Throw a request in for that so it doesn't get lost. But I'm fine with that.
Lemurian Settler asks, any new bushes/shrubs coming soon? Flowers?
Soon, as in like, oops, actually, you go for it, Jason.
Yeah. So there will be some new stuff soon. I know Rach is working on some things for, like, spring and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, but it's like the bushes and shrubs. Yeah, I could work on some of that stuff. That's not too terribly complicated. But I know Johnny was working on some really interesting things with some shader magic, like back in the day, and it would be really neat to like. And I know sometimes we start talking about the art stuff, and Johnny's like, well, hold up, wait for the terrain system, so because he's got a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, because the when we're doing bushes, it would be really nice for bushes to shake. But with bushes to shake, that it implies the wind system. The wind system's connected to the weather system, and so there's like, hey, can I have a flower? And it's like, let me draw you a diagram of systems. So yeah, so we're probably gonna, some things will probably be held off for longer than seems reasonable, because we want to make it work really cool later on. But yeah, we'll see.
And our final question for today is Lemurian Settler as well. In your opinion, how can the community help promote Tailspire and grow the community further?
God, that's the big question, isn't it? I don't know. Beyond, yeah, just it's hard, isn't it? Because we just think in terms of we just want you guys to have fun.
Yeah, I don't want
to
to
tell
doing
stories
for us,
Yeah, it's like the idea of having to do promotion. I mean, like, if that's the kind of thing you do and you have fun doing that, that's awesome. I mean, it's great to see people streaming Tailspire. It's really fun to drop in on those and like be a fly on the wall for a bit.
Yeah,
it's often like painful in terms of like, oh my god, these features all need work, but it is really cool seeing it. Honestly, the stuff that you folks do in terms of like the community assets, like, it is unquantifiable how valuable that is for the community at large. That the slab collection and the creatures, holy cow, some of you especially, and you know who you are, like, there's amazing. So many creatures up there now, which has just changed the whole dynamic. And like, obviously the tools inside Tailspire for searching that right now are ass, and I deeply apologize for how basic that stuff is. Well done on getting so much done with so little. Like, for someone to be able to come into Tailspire and go Goblin Camp and go click and paste a Goblin Camp is wildly cool, and that's because of you folks. So I mean, like, that's I don't know what we can do, because we don't like that turning up in communities and like, hey, have you heard about Tailspire? Have you got a minute for our Lord and Savior? Yeah, like, no. So yeah, we're really bad at promoting stuff. So we're probably the wrong people to ask.
As the community guy on the team, I can say, just continue to have fun and be a great and awesome community, guys. It
Yeah.
is you guys have been wonderful to be a part of, and it's great to see everything you guys put out. So just
Yeah.
continue, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and then hopefully with seats we can bring some folks that it was impossible for them to play before. We can bring a few more people in, and we'll just have to roll with it and see how it goes. Cheers, up, Murray.
Yeah, for real. Thank you.
I believe that brings us to the end of our stream for today. So thank you all for showing up. It's been great time answering all these questions, giving you guys updates on everything. As a reminder, our next one of these is currently planned for June 14th. So we will be doing these every other month on the second Friday. So keep an eye out on the socials and the Discord for that. And before we head off, is there anything else that you guys would like to bring up?
I don't think so. This has been really nice.
Yeah, hey, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, keep holding our feet to the fire on things. Like keep pushing us to make stuff. We love doing this. Thank you for letting us do this. Yeah, nothing's ever simple, but this is it's really great.
Just want to do a shout out to our mods on the Discord channel. Those guys are always awesome, and of course the modders. You guys are amazing. If you knew how long it took me to sculpt the miniatures that we have in game, and then to see you just
1,700 minis.
Get out of here!
What the fuck, man?
It's amazing.
So cool.
Yeah, for real. You guys are awesome. So like, you just keep being awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a good one, folks.
Yep.
Ta-da!